Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 61 of the Whitey and Wills Sports Show. Today is Sunday, January 22nd. This is the first of two shows we're going to do this week. We have got a guest who's going to be available Tuesday. So Tuesday afternoon, I think early afternoon, we're going to be talking to Aaron Britton. He's the guy who runs a very well. He's one of the most plugged in people in high school boys basketball in the state. I think it's safe to say.
I'd say he's in your top five.
He's
and I'm not sure who the other four are, but I'd just say top five.
His website is it's an invaluable resource if you're following the boys game around the state. If you're trying to figure out how to seed a tournament with teams from all across the state. You might just go to the Nesto Hoops website and take a look and see how some teams are doing. So that's something you should look forward to. That's going to be a good conversation. We're going to do that later this week. But I wanted to go ahead and do our usual Sunday night recording because the National Trail Boys Tournament starts this week, and so we're gonna talk about that. We'll preview that a little bit, and then there were a lot of games played this week. The NTC Girls Tournament was this week, and what's up?
Did you notice my sweatshirt?
You couldn't wait. You couldn't just wait to segue, later on?
No, because there's a lot of people that will dislike me more, but I didn't have anything to wear tonight, Whitey. I just happened to find this in the closet.
Well, listen here. I think undefeated in the OVC women's team still. So,
They're on the women's bracketology as being in the tournament.
So yes, we will carve out a little bit of time for you to gloat about the Illinois-Indiana game.
Here we go.
But first, the NTC girls tournament was this week. They had a really good championship game last night, so we definitely want to talk about that.
Sure.
Effingham's boys were at the Salem tournament, and you spent quite a bit of time there. So
I spent a month there yesterday.
Yeah, that Saturday at the Salem tournament I've been there before. It can drag a little bit waiting for that second game of the day to start. But
you actually hope your service at Applebee's is slow.
And it was an up and down day for the Hearts. We'll talk about that. The T-Town girls got fifth place at Highland, and we'll get into this, but that's a hell of an accomplishment, actually.
And I think we're the only competitive game against Alton who won it, and they had Alton beat. If they make free throws, they win that game.
And T-Town boys got on the right track this week too. They
got against the number 2 team in the state at the time, but I also understand they were missing maybe a player or two, but that was a beatdown.
So we'll get to all that and some more stuff from around the area. But again, that NTC tournament coming up next week, we will make sure to hit on all that. So just so you know what we're going to talk about, I feel like I don't do a very good job of maybe giving an outline at the top of the show sometimes, and so
that's why you're the producer.
Yeah, we'll work on that. So there you have it. If maybe what we're talking about at the moment isn't the most interesting to you, there you know that we're gonna hit on some other stuff. But
find something interesting.
But as far as actually deciding what order we're going to talk about anything in, we don't really have that. I guess
jump on it.
You want to do NTC girls first?
Let's do that first.
The NTC girls tournament was a good one. Very good week at Beecher City. A lot of interesting and competitive games. And while the seedings were kind of out of whack, as it turns out, just in terms of teams, it didn't go by chalk by any means. But what you did get was a championship game between the 1 and 2, and it was a great game.
How were both of their semifinal games? I did not see scores on the semis.
So Neoga beat North Clay in the semifinal, and that'd be the 1 and the 4 seed. North Clay the 4. 49-33 was the final there, which was actually that's a lot closer than North Clay played Neoga when they played in the regular season a few weeks ago. Neoga put a running clock on them when they played before. So
kind of a theme.
Yeah. So sometimes the earlier meeting doesn't necessarily dictate how the later meeting goes, and that sort of foreshadows how the championship game went. And St. Anthony beat Brownstown St. Elmo 52-43. Now, here's the thing about that, and that's the 2 seed and the 6 seed. Brownstown was a 6 seed. Probably should have been higher, but they were the 6 seed. and they lost. St. Anthony beat them by 9, and I wasn't there, but Brownstown was ahead by, I believe, 9 points going into the fourth quarter, and St. Anthony outscored them, by a healthy margin there in the fourth quarter to get the win. But it sounded like for much of the game, Brownstown was ahead. So that's how the semifinals went. And you had some really good games yesterday on the final day. South Central beat Altamont in the 7th place game. That was not close. Although that was interesting just because Altamont beat South Central by 18 points, I think it was, when they played a couple weeks ago, and then South Central turned around and beat them by 20 yesterday. And same personnel both times. That was all. That is after Altamont lost Grace Nelson, so they had the same. Although I don't know if Peyton Osteen played yesterday or not. Apparently, she's missed a little bit of time. So
for Altamont,
yeah. So that would be a big loss. I hadn't seen a box score on it yet. In the consolation game, 3rd seeded CHBC beat Windsor Stew Straws, the number 9 seed, by 4 points, 56-52.
Wow. Yeah,
Windsor. I think Windsor's playing some pretty good basketball right now. They beat Altamont in the consolation semis. I've always thought that they've got some pieces there.
Right.
It hasn't necessarily come together, but they must have played pretty good ball against Cowden yesterday. And then in the 3rd place game, North Clay won over Brownstown St. Elmo 47-41. And I got there for the championship game because we broadcast that one. And North Clay had a big lead, and Brownstown just kind of kept chipping away. I think they might have got it. I don't know if they tied it, but they definitely got within a bucket. And I kind of thought they were going to just go ahead and win it. But then North Clay did just enough and got themselves the 3rd place hardware.
Big leads getting chipped away may have been a theme yesterday.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Effingham boys in a little bit. And so you said that sets up the championship game, Neoga and St. Anthony. And of course, last week, our conversation was about how Neoga went to St. Anthony, and St. Anthony ate their lunch for them, and then ate their dinner for them, and then ate all their next week's groceries for them, and beat them by 40 points. Put a running clock on them, and really just kind of left you wondering, even if you did get that rematch in the championship game, was it even going to be interesting?
Mm-hmm.
But it was, and you could tell right away that it was going to be a different game. It was a tight game throughout, tied after a quarter, 1 point game after a half. I think St. Anthony's biggest lead was probably 7 points, but Neoga ended up winning this one in overtime, 58-50. So Neoga goes from losing 77-37 at the Enloe Center to 9 days later getting the championship game in overtime, held St. Anthony scoreless in the overtime period, and won it 58-50. Second straight year that Neoga's won that tournament championship. They beat Altamont in double overtime last year. That was also a fantastic game. And I'll tell you, it just goes to show you that you never know what you're going to get. But it also, the thing I took away from that game was that a lot of your problems can be cured by being an effective defensive team. And let me explain that. Yeah, Neoga played better offensively, but part of the reason was that they didn't turn it over quite as much, and certainly not due to the pressure. In that first meeting, St. Anthony played a full court press and caused Neoga all sorts of problems. I mean, Neoga couldn't get the ball across midcourt a lot of times. They had a lot of trouble. This time around, St. Anthony didn't shoot 65% from the field because Neoga didn't let them have every layup that they wanted. And so if you're forced to take more jumpers, you're not going to make as many shots. And when you don't make as many shots, you can't necessarily set up your presses effectively. Then Neoga doesn't have to work as hard to get the ball to the other end of the floor, and they can execute offensively. It all started.
Go ahead.
It all started on the defensive end. I mean, they may have given St. Anthony something that they weren't necessarily looking for too, because Matt and I were thinking it was a 2-3 zone. Talked to the coaches afterwards, and it sounded like maybe they're more of a 2-on-2, but like kind of mostly with the focus of making sure Lucy Fearday didn't kill them in the post.
Yeah.
And
well, and Neoga's big, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the thing. They can throw basically 4 6-footers on the floor at the same time. And so yeah, you can take up a lot of, you can make it very hard to penetrate a zone with all those long arms, in the paint, just taking away passing lanes. They didn't or couldn't play very effective defense the first time around. They made some tweaks. I thought Kim Romack did a good job of making the adjustments that she needed to, and they did a few things a little differently with their press break too. Getting the ball, throwing the ball down the floor a little bit more, which that's press break 101, right? Get a big person in the middle and throw it to them, but it's easier said than done. They just were more effective at getting it figured out and making it work. And so they were able to just play basketball instead of having to chase the ball around and run for their lives. And lo and behold, you had a good ball game. And it was a great ball game. St. Anthony played well. Nancy Ruhal, she made.
We listened to you on the way home.
I love to watch the kid play. And I told this to Matt at one point during the broadcast. If you walked in off the street and didn't know anything about these teams, you would guess that she was a senior on the team, right, the way she plays. Because it's not just that she's athletic, it's not just she's a good basketball player, it's that it's a big situation, right? Like the atmosphere there is very good. There's a lot of people, but it's also a big situation. And if it was bothering her, there were no outward signs of it. Just kept her composure and played very well. So I was really
a couple things when you were talking about, St. Anthony's pressure, and I've talked to a couple people since the North Clay Altamont game. A couple people were asking me about that game. North Clay's inability to create turnovers with their press and get easy shots then leads to confidence, which also leads to getting shots. And similar to what you said with St. Anthony, they turned the ball over a lot. First meeting, got a lot of easy layups, a lot of easy shots. That starts leading to, man, we're shooting at a bucket.
Yeah.
And same thing there. Another thing when you're talking about a press, I mean, the most important thing you can do to a press is shoot layups. And Effingham, Champaign Central tried to press them a couple of times yesterday, early in the game, and Effingham just walked right through it and shot layups. And I'm like, that's how you beat it. Actually, it was Salem, the Salem game. Salem tried to press them a couple of times, and they shot layups. And people quit pressing when you're giving up layups. So, you take away a team's, when they rely a lot on defense and making things happen, if you take that part away, it usually creates pressure in other parts of their game. We're not getting easy buckets now. These shots are all more important. And it's amazing. But I mean, we listened to your game. Sound like a real good ball game.
It was, and here's Sydney Richards was the tournament MVP. She scored 26 points last night. She had I'm squinting at this 11 rebounds, and she blocked 5 shots. Wow. Had a few assists in there. I think she led her team in assists. Just a great all-around game. And that was the thing. She scored 18 points the first time these two teams played, but you could tell that she was about exhausted by the time that game was over because they were leaning on her so much. She was the one that they turned to get the ball down the floor. And then you have to turn around and be the focal point of the offense, and the defense knows that you're the focal point, and so they're doubling you, they're leaning on you. This time she was able to play her game a little bit more and had a fantastic outing, and it just I don't know. There's a chance that those two teams could meet up again, and now you just really have no idea how that third meeting
Well,
could go. You thought maybe you did, but
there's
now
a
you
good
don't.
chance, but you never assume.
Right? Yeah, you can't make any assumptions, and I think that's real. That game last night is a perfect
Mhm.
is a perfect example of why you would never just assume how it's going to go, because why would you think Neoga was going to win? I mean, you're not even a week and a half out from just, being humbled. I don't know how
Yep,
else to put it.
it
Uh,
was.
there had to be some questions in the back of everybody's mind about, I don't know, are we actually that good? Are we overrated?
Mhm.
And they answered them. I mean, a tremendous amount of mental toughness going into that as well, because that's the kind of loss that could throw a season off the rails, and clearly it didn't. So good for
Well,
those
and it
girls.
becomes, yes, we can play with them.
Yeah,
Now you get over
absolutely.
that, especially early in the game. The longer you hang around, tougher it gets on the other team.
And that's to take nothing away from St. Anthony, because St. Anthony is still real good, but you know what Neoga showed last night was that there are ways that you can keep them in check. They came up with a pretty good game plan and did it, but it was still a tight ball game, and St. Anthony led most of the.
Yeah, I listen.
So, we'll see what the postseason has in store. They still haven't done assignments yet for regionals, I don't think. So, well, they've done
Complexes.
they've got the
They're
complexes,
going to be in different sites.
right? Because
Isn't Neoga hosting a regional?
Neoga's got its own regional, so there's just,
So they'll be there, and where's the other site on their side?
oh man,
Louisville? No, that's boys.
I'm looking it up now. Neoga, yeah, Louisville does have
Oh,
one.
St. Anthony will be at Louisville, Neoga will be at Neoga. I can tell you that much.
So, and obviously like Tuscola is probably going to go to Arcola for their
Yeah.
regional, and that all feeds into Casey for a sectional,
Yep.
which in turn feeds into St. Anthony for a super.
St. Anthony for a super.
So there's a pretty good chance, if teams do what they're capable of, that you're gonna have at least those three that we mentioned going to KZ, and that could be a really good sectional. A lot of work left to do, but
A lot to go. Oh, by the way, I was kind of distracted listening to the end of your game, because as we're coming home from Salem, the old gas gauge said 0 about a mile and a half to 2 miles from Edgewood. So I'm trying to figure out who's going to walk to the gas station.
That was the X-Mobile, right? The Prius.
The range said 0 about 2 miles out.
What does that have, like, battery? Is the battery a backup, or I don't know
I
how.
don't think there's a backup. Is there a radio? Is there? I guess I didn't realize it's a hybrid. It's a hybrid.
It is a hybrid, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't know what I was worried about.
I don't know.
We were out of gas.
Never stranded me yet. Greg's never stranded me yet.
We were out of gas,
and
we got to Edgewood.
But Kim Romack, again, I just, great job for her. She, and very gracious afterwards when she came up to talk. She came up and gave us a good interview a week and a half ago after getting her ass kicked, and
I was listening, and I heard you only had one guest.
Yeah,
because I was listening.
Kim came up and did a great job, and that was it.
Well, I'm going to quote a Hall of Fame broadcast, because when I was 7 or 8, 9 years old, he said, "Stay here," and he walked into Jim Maxon's office, and I thought I was in trouble, because that's the sound I always heard when I got in trouble. It's how loud it was. But he so eloquently told Coach Maxton that if you're not going to talk to me when you lose, don't come talk to me when you win. So that's unfortunate, but hey, I blew a 16-point lead in the NTC tournament and lost by 14 and talked to Greg. So
Yeah,
you talk.
it's part of the deal, right? Like
that's where I'm going to leave it. But that's my stance on it. And a lot of times you don't want to, but that's part of it. So
yeah, I mean,
let's move to another girls team.
Can I give the all tournament team from the NTC?
Sure, yes, that's fine.
I'll give you the all tournament, and then we'll move on. I mentioned Sydney Richards, the MVP. Haley Campbell got on there from Neoga, and Allison Sampson got on there from Neoga too. And I got to tell you, if anybody happened to be taking video of those proceedings, I'd love to see a replay of it, because Allison Sampson's face when
I heard you say that.
She very clearly was not looking for that and was not expecting it.
Cool.
And just a priceless moment to see that girl's face when she realized that, and she deserved it. There was a sequence in that game. She hit a 3-pointer in the corner to tie it late in the game, and then got fouled going to the rim to follow her own shot. And Neoga was in the bonus. So she made both ends of a 1-and-1. So she turned a 3-point deficit into a 2-point lead, and scored in double figures every game in the tournament. Not necessarily a big scorer most of the time, but very nice honor for her, something she'll always remember. Then for St. Anthony, Nancy Ruhal got on. Not the last time that's going to happen unless some unforeseen circumstances take place. Stacy Vonderhyde, again, she's having a great year. She had a good tournament. And Lucy Fearday, no surprise there. And then the rest of it, Lainey Baldridge from Brownstown St. Elmo, Brooklyn Garrett from South Central, Lexi Seabaugh from Brownstown St. Elmo, Maya Ballard from North Clay, Ella Kinkler from Windsor Stew Straws, and Gracie Heckert from Cowden Herrick Beecher City. Gracie Heckert apparently had a couple of triple doubles during the tournament and went over 1,500 points for her career during the tournament. Lucy missed it. Lucy missed it by 5 points. She's 5 points shy of 1,500 for her career. I thought maybe she's going to do it, but Neoga was able to keep her off the board in the second half, and so that didn't happen. But that's your NTC girls all tournament team, and I would put that group up against a lot of groups. Very, very good collection of ball players.
Right.
All right, moving on.
Let's talk T-Town girls at Highland.
Let's do it. I mentioned they finished 5th place, but we talk about that's a 16-team tournament, and there are some killers. I mean, we talked about this last week that they won their opening game, and their reward for winning that game, they beat Waterloo by 10 points, and their reward was to have to play an undefeated Alton team in the second round. And they
ranked number one in 4A girls.
And they had Alton down in the fourth quarter, right?
I was told they had them beat, missed a couple of free throws late. Got beat by 2.
58-56 was the final.
Yeah.
So then they bounced back, and they beat Highland by 2 points in the 5th place semifinal, beat them 48-46. And then they face a Bethalto team that they had just beaten by only 3 points 2 weeks prior, and beat them by 17 to secure 5th place. So 56-39 was the final there. So the T-Town girls are 21-3. And again, that's a fantastic showing at Highland. That you can't say enough about what that field is like. It is just.
Well, you got Bethalto, you got Mater Dei, you have Central, you have Alton, you have Highland, Troy Triad's there, you have Oakville.
Taylorville's in it too, and they're pretty.
Oh, that's right. Taylorville's in.
Yeah. So it's in that getting that game against Alton. We talked about this last week too, but that's exactly what Lori wants. She wants to play a team like that. She wants to beat a team like that, but ultimately, just showing your team that you're going to play with a team of that caliber. That's huge as the season wears on. As you roll into the postseason, it's just another one of those deals where no matter who you face in a regional or sectional, they're not going to be as good as that Alton team that you played on January 16th and feel like you probably should have beaten.
Right. And that's the big thing. I mean, you play this as tough a schedule as you can play. Some people, oh, we got to have a few wins in there. Well, okay, whatever. I mean, you play a tough schedule and go 20-10. That's pretty good. People who know the sport, oh, look, this team has only got 10 losses. They may not be very good. Well, okay, come see us in postseason.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that T-Town's done a little bit is I think they found another perimeter shooter who's helped them quite a bit.
Okay.
Now, Molly Ruhal doesn't score every game, but when she does, she's usually, hitting threes. So that's helped them. So I think they got a nice postseason run. I guess it'd be like a sectional potentially running into Paris.
But we've seen, I mean, Paris is not infallible. So
Effingham sped them up, made them uncomfortable, and they didn't play well. So who knows?
And another thing you talk about Molly Ruhal doing some scoring. Emily Conkle has been filling it up lately too. I mean, Kaylee Nieberg is old reliable, right? Like she's averaging almost 19 a game, and pretty much it's not like there's some games where she's scoring 30 and some games where she's scoring 12. It's always right around 20,
And
right
she can do it both inside and outside. That's where she's a very physically strong girl to get inside, and she can finish through people. Conkle's just so athletic. Emily's quick and she's athletic. So they kind of are two different styles of play. Nieberg is she's physical. She'll go inside and she don't care how many people are hanging on her. She's at least going to get it up.
Yep.
And she can shoot it. So, it'll be good to see how that rolls. I know this is the part of the year now where they don't have any, off nights as far as teams they play.
This week they're off for a few days, but they've got Friday and Saturday back to back. And you know what? When I was leading off the show, I should have said we're going to preview the thing everybody knows they want to hear about this week.
Friday night.
That is Dustin White and Mike Wilson calling the Effingham T-Town girls game from Jim. But it's the annual Friday night game between those two during the NTC tournament. And so they send the A team over to T-Town to take care of that. And then the other guys go to Altamont.
I may ask Glory if there's any brisket left in the hospitality.
And then Breeze Central comes in the very next night on Saturday, afternoon. I'm not even sure about the game time. But
Hart's got second at Vandalia.
Yes. Effingham lost the championship game at Vandalia to Mascuda, 50-39. They beat Madison in the first round by a lot. Yeah, Madison got held to single digits at least twice in that tournament. So
Madison made 2 threes and one of them was a bank.
Then Effingham beat Vandalia in the semifinals by 9. And then Mascuda got them by 11 in the championship. So, and that used to be, I don't know how long they've been doing that in Vandalia. Effingham used to do a midwinter.
Effingham used to host it.
Yeah. But you seem like you had an interesting mix of teams there. Madison, obviously a good boys basketball program. Apparently the girls program not quite in the same place.
No.
But Effingham's up to 16-7. They've got a big week this week. You talk about T-Town playing tough games back to back. Effingham's got to do this. They're off until Thursday. Matt Toon comes in. Now, Matt Toon's a 500 team, but they've been playing better since Christmas.
Right.
And then they go to T-Town Friday night, which T-Town beat them during the Christmas tournament. That was a fairly close game, but
7-8 points maybe.
Yeah, my understanding was that T-Town was up by more, and Effingham sort of closed the gap toward the end. And then Mahomet comes in Saturday, and Mahomet's girls are 18-6.
Wait,
But they're both,
Did Effingham beat Muhammad's girls at Muhammad?
they did, yes. I'm gonna find it here. So I got this all. I'm not exactly Aaron Britton levels of organized here, but
Well,
I do have that. If I talk long enough, they beat. They went to no. They lost to Muhammad.
okay.
46-26. So
Boys beat Muhammad.
yep, that's right. So and they only beat Mattoon by 5 points when they played the first time around.
Okay.
So they've got a big week. Jeff Schaefer's club does. That's going to be interesting to see how they do. You don't want to get shut out, but you certainly are going to be facing a pretty good matchup, pretty challenging matchup every night that you play. So, T-Town boys, right?
T-Town boys. Did they play Tuesday? I don't think they played Tuesday. They have the whole week off.
No, they played Danville Tuesday.
That's right. They beat Danville. Danville's just not what they've been in the past.
They beat Danville by 21 points. Yeah.
Handled Danville. And then Saturday went up to Prairie Central. I believe that's in Fairbury, isn't it?
Yeah, because Effingham played them in a playoff game for football not too awful long ago.
Long drive, I heard.
Yes.
And currently ranked second. I think they were 19-1. And I was getting scores texted to me. Kent Nieberge was texting me scores. And they were up 6-8 early, 10 early, and they just kept building and ended up beating them by 25.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to somebody who watched it on NFHS, said Hearts. Shoes just did what they wanted. Ran a lot of sets and got what they wanted almost every time, and really looked good. Defensively looked good. Sound like Prairie Central may have been shorthanded, but getting beat 25 on your home floor, not good. I guess yesterday or the day before was Chet Reader's birthday too, so I saw the team got him a cake. I saw a picture of that on Twitter. So maybe birthday cake before you get on a bus ride is the key.
Okay, well, put that in your back pocket, I guess.
And then the Shoes have Mount Zion Tuesday.
Yes,
that'll be a good one.
This is a week, man. They got.
And then who they have Friday?
They go to so they got Mount Zion coming in Tuesday. They go to Mater Dei on Friday. Okay. We talked about that.
Yeah, you don't want to go to Mater Dei.
And then they go to Pinckneyville on Saturday.
Ooh, that's two places you don't want to go to.
That's the thing. I don't know exactly what Pinckneyville's like this year, but it's just a trip, right? It's those are places that are not easy to go play. Pinckneyville's 20-3.
You go down about Ren Lake, and then you cut across the Cesar, and then you go kind of through the country, and then you're in Pinckneyville.
20-3 is Pinckneyville, so they're good. I'm looking.
Whitey, I'm picking the Shoes Saturday.
Well, I don't know. I pick the Shoes every time they play.
Well, I understand, but I think as this group gets kind of all pulling the rope the same direction, I think they're going to have a pretty good postseason.
And they got the week after, they got Newton and St. Anthony coming in. So
yeah,
there's
potentially 5 hostile big crowds you're going to play in. Well, Mount Zion will travel to T-Town.
Yeah, and Mount Zion's very good. Mount Zion,
yes, they are.
I'm looking now. Mount Zion's 20-2. So
Mount Zion fell in love with the 3-point shot against Effingham. So
yeah, you kind of wonder if they felt like they were going to come in and just do what they wanted and not really, kids are susceptible to that, right? Like they know no matter what coaches say to them, they know what the team they're going up against is going through that year, and sometimes a little too confident. Let's talk about Effingham's boys now. They played in the Salem tournament last week. Actually, the first thing they did was they beat Diederich on Tuesday night. Diedrich came in, and they beat Diedrich by 8. That game was pretty even after the first quarter. Effingham outscored Diedrich probably by about those 8 points in the first quarter, and then it was fairly even after that. And then you go to Salem, played what was apparently a pretty good Thornton Fractional North team in the opening round, lost to them by 11. Sound like they played pretty well, you know?
Yeah, I think we're down a lot and then came back and made a game of it. Got it to 4 maybe in the third or fourth quarter at some point.
And then
yesterday, and Mr. Sapp and I went down to spend the week in Salem, and they played Salem, who's 5-15 maybe.
Yeah, not real good.
Okay. And kind of was doing what they wanted, played well. They were running a little wrinkle I really hadn't seen him. Kind of Logan Isle catch a ball kind of at the elbow and then give it back to one of the guards, and he does a little loop with kind of a double rub. They're clear, and he was getting layup after layup against that. And I thought the Hearts played well. And then all of a sudden, they kind of quit scoring, and they had Salem. I mean, I think it got as big as 14 or 15.
I think 14
in the third quarter. Then they'd get it to 10 or 9 and 12. And then they finally got it to 9. And they just kept chipping away. And then the Hearts got a technical. And
bad time. It was a 4-point game at that point, wasn't it?
It was a 4-point game, or it was I don't know what the lead was, but Salem had the ball. Young man got whistled. I don't know if he was talking to Salem players who I was, as a statistician, I've got my head down writing down what had just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed what he did. And Salem went down, hit the throws, and I'm pretty sure scored on the possession. Had at least a 4-point trip, and then it was on. And back and forth, and Salem actually at one point took a 1-point lead in the ball game. I guess I don't think it was 4 when the technicals, or maybe it was.
Maybe the technicals got it to 4. I don't know.
Maybe I took it from 8 to 4. That may have been the case because changed the whole atmosphere in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And Salem didn't have a monster crowd there, but their kids are fired up. Their student section was going nuts.
It sounded like the game was a little chippy, right?
I didn't notice it being chippy until the kid who got the technical scored or got fouled and then bumped into a kid after the whistle had blown. And I think they exchanged Instagram addresses or something, and the officials kind of got between them, and I thought that was it. And then I'm writing down what happened, and I hear the whistle blow and technical. So, and it's the young man's third one of the season, and I'm telling you as a coach, no,
no. Not true.
I don't like it. Maybe I'm grumpy old man, but no. I'm trying to remember if I ever had a kid get 1.
Yeah.
And it's just.
Yeah, like I don't want to, not, and we're not trying to pick on the kid. It's just, it's at a certain point, you got to do a little soul searching and understand like, that's not a normal.
Team's a lot more important than the individual. And I've seen now 2. Well, I didn't see, I heard this one. I saw another one, and another one that they got could have been called multiple times in that game.
Yeah.
Yes, multiple times in that game. And I'm sorry, I'm just, this isn't an indictment on anybody, but no, shouldn't happen.
Yeah. And
so then,
go ahead.
Salem, they end up going up by 1 they were down 1, went down and scored to go up 1 with 7 seconds. I think Gunnar Brown kind of penetrated, got a nice speed to Logan Heil. Maybe that was the bucket to put him up one. And Salem came down and they got a little guard. He's about 5'8", maybe, quick, but you can tell he's crossing half court at 8 seconds. They're not running anything. He's in no hurry. He's going to the top of the key and then going to try to go one direction or the other and go to the hole and then get fouled. You can see that's what he's going to do. And jitter. Started down the left side of the lane, got to about 8 feet, went up, and I tell you, I give Logan Heil a lot of credit. He was here last 2 possessions, held his ground, did not leave his feet. Shot came off the rim. Logan gobbled it up. The horn sounded.
Yep.
And very good defensive effort by the Hearts that last trip. It really was. Big win, So here's Salem 5-15, and they walk out of the gym hanging their head, and the Hearts are like, man, we got one. And then we, come back and play again. And we're playing Champaign Central.
Consolation championship.
And Central's got an energetic coach. He's up and down, whatever there is, a box or the bench, and everything he calls out about 27 times. And, okay. The Hearts just jump on them early, make them look bad, have them down double digits. They only got one. They have one kid scored the first bucket of the game for them. Only one other kid scored the whole half. Hearts are up like 15 or something at the half, just having their way with them. Early second quarter on, this coach sits down. You don't hear him the rest. You don't hear him. He's nothing. He's not even talking. I'm not sure he's all the time he was even coaching. All right. Hearts get their lead. I think at one time in the third quarter, they got it up to 21. In the fourth quarter with an 18-point lead. And then proceed in the fourth quarter, they turned it over 6 times. And here's the thing, Dustin. They had 3 other turnovers that didn't become turnovers because, one, they got a timeout called, kind of questionable. I'm not so sure the ref, if he couldn't have taken it back, wouldn't have taken it back. I mean, Obi was quick trying to get the timeout called, and the ball was getting knocked loose from a kid, and the kid was kind of dribbling it or trying to gather it in, and that's when the timeout was called. Good thinking, good quick thinking on Obi's part, and they gave him the timeout, and iffy. Another time, the pressure. Kid was bringing the ball, kind of going from one side of the court to the other in the middle of the pressure. And I wasn't sure if they were going to call a walk, a carry, or a double dribble, and they chose none of the above. And you could tell everyone in red in that gym went, we dodged a bullet there. And then had another instance, had a kid going down the floor in a breakaway or in traffic, and it got caught on his hip for a nanosecond and didn't get called. But Champaign started hitting some shots and started being aggressive offensively. And I'm not sure, maybe outside of Garrett Wolf, only one person took a shot in the fourth quarter for the Hearts.
Nobody made one.
No, they didn't score, and Garrett just looked tired. Okay. He looked tired. He really did. Garrett looked tired. A lot of things front of the rim. A couple shots just round and fell. You couldn't explain how they didn't go down. So the Hearts end up with the ball out of bounds at half court, 2.7 seconds to go in the game. And Greg even says, well, either the Hearts are going to get a bucket here or we're going to overtime. Well, they ran an inbound play, and I think the kid was going to be open, but it was kind of a tough angle for the pass, and the pass just went out of bounds under the basket. So now Central gets the ball in half court because, I'm like, hey, Greg, wait, you said either Effingham was going to win or go. Now Central's got a chance. And I'll be darned, they had this Chris Boss, I think was his name. I figured they were throwing. He was their leading scorer. I figured they were throwing the lob to him. He was about 6'4", pretty athletic kid, could shoot it. They didn't get it. The Hearts kind of took that away, so they're trying to inbound a pass to a kid around half court. Gunnar Brown steals the pass. Gunner's going 100 miles an hour towards the Hearts basket, gets about the elbow, throws up a runner because he can't get to the basket. He doesn't have time to shoot a layup, okay? Mm-hmm. Throws a little floater up from about 15 feet, and it fell off. Hit the rim, hit the backboard, hit the rim, fell off. And I thought, how fitting, because he had a steal at the tournament and shot a layup on kind of got that layup in the 3-point game. And I thought, man, that would have been just a nice finish for him to get that bucket. And it rolled out. And then we come back in overtime, and the first 2 possessions, the Hearts turned it over again. And it was, guys would be kind of open, but it's a thread the needle type pass. And, it was like they were trying to do some of those things, and it just didn't work. And they just from that fourth quarter, once Central got on that roll and got it from 18 to 16 to 15 to 14, they went. It appeared to me the kids had that look on their face like, let's just get out of here with a win. They were trying not to lose, and they just weren't getting shots and some silly turnovers. I mean, it was. It wasn't like Central, turned into the Arkansas Razorbacks under Nolan Richardson and was making it horrible. It started going the other direction. They couldn't stop it. I felt bad. I really did.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then, like I said, the overtime, they got down 4 points 35, 40 seconds into the overtime. So, Garrett Wolf, I think, is 4 or 5 points shy of 1,000. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to see him get it. He had a great first half, and then second half ball just wouldn't go in the hole.
And they end up losing by those 4 points in overtime. So it's take an 18-point lead into the fourth quarter, don't score, and end up losing in overtime. That's a tough pill to swallow,
Now, interesting stat.
Okay.
In the first half, the Hearts committed 1 personal foul.
Okay.
In the third quarter, the Hearts committed so through 3 quarters, I think the Hearts had committed 1 personal foul.
Okay.
They got to fouling in the fourth quarter because it was a tie game and they had fouls to give, obviously. So they were fouling in succession, not letting Central, good thing to do, what you're supposed to do. And they did a really good job of it. Central would get something started, or, guy would start dribbling one way and they just foul the dribbler and shoot up a lot of time. So, it was what it was. Tough one, tough loss.
Yeah. They could have gotten up to 10 and 14 if they had finished that one off. And then, they're going to go to Oblong on Tuesday, and they're going to win that game. I would assist, you have to imagine. And so you could have had a chance to at least get yourself within shouting distance of 500, which would feel pretty good, right? But you drop that one, and it's I guess this Oblong game comes at a good time to get that taste out of your mouth, right? Like that's the way I'm looking at that one, is that that's the only game they play this week, and it's just kind of a palate cleanser. You go there, you take care of business against a team that you should beat, right? Like there's no excuse not to beat them, and then go from there. So
that you don't want to be in that game and be in the first quarter tied at 9.
Yeah, no, you don't. That
you should, and I kind of hope they do. Coaching at Hudsonville, Oblong was a team you didn't like. Usually we couldn't do anything about it, just didn't like it. So
yeah.
I hope they get that win there. Bulldogs played.
They did. They had a they
Who did play Tuesday?
Tuesday they beat Flora by 11, which
Good
Flora
win.
turned around and now granted North Clay was down its best player and another starter, but they turned around and beat
Right.
North Clay on Saturday. But St. Anthony beat Flora by 11 on Tuesday. Then they beat Windsor Stew Straws by 15 on Friday. And they had sound like they had a nice night there at the Inlow Center.
A lot of pomp and circumstance. We had Les Stevens, Chris Kuznerich, Ronnie Nieberge, myself, and Cody. So they had 5 current former head coaches in attendance. I was told I was going to get booed. I don't think I got booed, so I didn't hear it anyway.
I had designs on trying to make it down there. I got at that time had 2 sick kids. I think I'm down to 1 sick kid, but you know, 1,500 wins for the program was what they were commemorating.
Yep.
So
and had several players there. Would have liked to see more players there. I mean, they had to get people just come out by decade. Jim Stuckey, who's an usher at a lot of games, was the only player representing the 70s. It was kind of funny but I think that when they got it, okay, we need to do something. Here's a night we got to do it. It would have been nice to see more players there from a rich basketball tradition, but it was good. Enjoyed it. I thought they did a good job with it, and Bulldogs came out and played well. We
did.
We told Cody that, hey, we can come in and help you with your pregame talk. You got a lot of knowledge here. He didn't think he'd have enough time to fit us in.
He's a and that's a good Windsor team that they beat. Windsor Stew Straws is 16-6 on the year now, but St. Anthony up to 15-8. They're playing really good ball at the right time. Now, then they
lost a player.
Is Rudaball back out? Is that who we're talking about?
He's not dressed. Jonathan Willenberg is back dressed, but when you come back from what he was dealing with, you kind of go slow. So I don't know how much time he's going to be getting. But Rudaball's down again. I don't know how long he's down.
It was a nice lift. It was a nice lift for them to get him.
I thought he did at the Christmas tournament was a nice help there. And it was just like, okay, Jonathan was out. He came in and really helped. They played well. They shot it awfully well. I mean, burying threes and got off to a really nice start. And then kind of had to weather the storm. Windsor started cutting into the lead, got it back in the single digits, and then they kind of pulled away, made free throws late.
And then they went to St. Joe Ogden on Saturday, and that's not a fun place to go play. T-Town can attest to that. And this one was a little more one-sided. St. Joe beat them 61-38.
Mr. Pence had 130 on him, I believe.
Yeah.
So I was getting some texts. Who was that? Who knows? Steve Willenberg was sending me scores on that one. And I think at one point it was like 19-8, and Pence had 15 of the 19 or something. Nice player, going to Illinois State, really good player. All right, Whitey, let's rotate to the NTC.
That's the perfect segue, right? That's
there you go.
Segue. The NTC tournament gets started tomorrow. The play-in game is tomorrow night. Number 8 Neoga, number 9 Cowden Herrick Beecher City. I'm going to do something actually. Let me see if I can make this work. You see that?
I thought you were taking me off the screen. Yeah, I can see it.
Well, I am taking you off the screen. So
that's painful.
These are the brackets. So there you can see tomorrow night, Neoga and Cowden Herrick Beecher City. And then the rest of the field shakes out this way. Tuesday night, you'll have the top seeded Altamont playing the winner of that game. Then you got number 4 Windsor Stew Straws, number 5 Diederich in the second game Tuesday. And as you might recall, those two teams had a little double overtime game. It's been a while now, but certainly. And Windsor Stew Straws came out on top of that one. It was anyone's ball game, so that could potentially be a pretty good matchup. Then you get number 2 North Clay against number 7 South Central on Wednesday, and to me, that's that's why that North Clay Altamont game was so important, because like you don't want to play a team like South Central in the first round of this tournament. You know what I'm saying?
No,
They're they're dangerous. I mean, you look at the conference standings and you understand why they're seated there, but that doesn't make you want to play them anymore.
well, and especially if you may not be 100%.
Yep. And yeah, that was the thing. Again, when North Clay played Flora on Saturday, Logan Fleener did not play. They were there was they were actually down another one. I don't think that
Is it Kinsler? That's who it is.
yeah,
I just didn't
Kinsler.
remember.
Kinsler didn't play
Yeah.
either. That's right. So, you reached out to Coach Zink at North Clay to ask about Fleener, and I think they're hopeful that they'll have him back by Wednesday.
They're hopefully to get them both back by Wednesday, but you don't know if you'll be 100%.
Sure.
I know last year Logan missed an extended part of the season with an ankle injury. So
Yeah, and he was
let's hope he's back. He's a very dynamic player. He's probably my favorite high school player to watch right now.
He's tournament MVP material, right? Like he's the kind of kid who could go out there and win it. If
he would be on your short list pre-tournament.
Yep. And then the other one game Wednesday night, St. Anthony, the 3rd seed against St. Elmo Brownstown, the 6th seed. I mean, that's the St. Elmo Brownstown team that has won. They're 13-5, but they also played St. Anthony already, and St. Anthony beat them by about 30 points. So, I think that St. Elmo can certainly play better than that, but they might be catching the Bulldogs at the wrong time. We'll see. It's another one of those like
Bulldogs are playing well.
Yeah. But I just think that you look at that and look at any potential iteration of your semifinals, and you don't know what you're going to get. And also, North Clay's not the only team, dealing with, missing some personnel too, as it turns out. And that's going to have a factor on things. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. Don't want to deprive people of our pretty faces too much. People tuning out left and right. They're like, I'm turning this off if I can't see Dustin White's face.
Well, you got 2 things going on affecting the top seeded Altamont.
Yes. Okay.
For one, Coach John Nieberge will not be on the bench Tuesday night for their first game.
Yeah, it sounded like he had
got a couple whistles.
The officials against Cowden Herrick the other night.
Yeah. Well, actually, they were trailing at one point in the 3rd quarter.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Didn't like a call, and he got banged twice. So John will have a 1-game vacation. Almost had him as a guest tonight, but it's his wife's birthday. So I talked to him Friday night at St. Anthony. And then Altamont's I think is Mason still the leading scorer. Their leading scorer, Mason Robinson, who was tournament MVP last year, will be missing the duration of the tournament.
Yeah, yep. He's not going to be available. He was the MVP last year, and he is their leading scorer. Although Avery Yarhouse is closing the gap a little bit. He's been playing well as of late.
Right.
Mason's at about 14 points a game, and Avery's at just a touch under 13. So.
And Mr. Coleman's kind of back, starting to flex his muscles.
And that's the thing. I mean, yeah, you don't want to lose your top scorer. I mean,
they're deep, but it just, it affects your team. So we'll have to see.
I think Altamont's obviously still capable of winning the thing with or without him.
Oh,
I don't want to downplay his.
I agree 100%. I think it makes it a tougher road for you.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. However, they've got some personnel, so we'll see what happens. More importantly, we'll see what happens from next Tuesday on, how they play as a team.
Yeah.
Sometimes things affect teams. I've been through it. I've been through it my first year as a coach. I lost a lot of kids, and it affected us for a while. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I hope he gets back out there. I enjoy watching him play. He's a good kid. And,
that's the thing is that
he's fun to watch play.
Selfishly, I'm just sorry that I don't get a chance to see him go out there and
Sure.
and defend that MVP that he deserved last year. You know, I mean,
Right.
very well deserved MVP. And it's you know, if you want to look at the most silver lining possible, you know, Altamont's going to have to figure out how to do it without him for I think 4 games is probably
Well,
what the deal was. And
and you
so
also sometimes have people kind of step up and
mhm,
get a bigger role in someone's absence, and it helps your team. You know, it can help
good.
your
Yeah.
team a lot.
I mean, you don't want to make excuses or try to tell people it's okay, you know, to not be there for your guys, right? Like
Right.
it's you just you don't get enough of these games as a high school player to give any away. And it's hard to understand that when you're 17 or 18 years old. But you know, that there could be some good things to come out of it for
Sure.
Altamont, but I what it does with that uncertainty with them, with that uncertainty with North Clay, because I don't care what you tell me as far as Fleener goes, if he's available or not, he's probably not 100%, and so you know it makes that field even more interesting than I think it already was. Yes,
It
yes,
bunches things up a little bit. I mean,
we say that, and then
I feel like Altamont's playing really well, and then sounds like they didn't play real well a game last week or part of a game last week. Um, but with all that being said, it just it bunches the field, and I think it gives some teams, you know, hey, you say there's a chance, you know, because you now may catch a team flat-footed. Who knows? And
yep.
here's the other thing, Whitey, and it never fails. Almost every year, the wild card in the whole tournament is the weatherman.
Yes.
They're already calling Tuesday night into Wednesday, 4 to 8 inches right now. That's per the Channel 3 weather app. That's not me and my guru, who I'll check when we're done tonight. I'll go check his because he looks at all the models and stuff. But I looked at some models today, and yeah, we could get some snow. We're going to get when the weather app from Channel 3 says chance for snow 100%. That's a pretty good chance you're going to get snow.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they obviously will do everything they can to get these games played. So if it's
Sure, and I don't know what time things come in Tuesday night. You know, I've heard plenty of stories of Dad and Greg and Sam coming home on not real good roads.
yeah, yeah, but also just even this winter, we have at least once
We've
been
dodged it so far.
prepared for the worst. And
Yeah,
other than so, I mean, it was cold. You know, it was miserably cold and windy for a couple 3 days, but at least the roads were passable. So
and the
we'll.
tournament is where the famous big flake syndrome was laid to rest, because that's where when Dad and Sam, and I'm pretty sure it was Greg doing the game with Dad when they walked in the gym, was snowing pretty good, and Dad said, "Don't worry, Sam. These are big flakes. It's about to stop." And then they came back outside after the game, and there's about 6 inches of the big flakes stacked up on the vehicle. And I think Sam, in his eloquent manner, told Dad where he could put that big flake theory.
Yeah,
How's that?
I'm
You have an
guessing
idea because you know Sam's eloquent speech.
you know, I got to I didn't get a lot of time around Sam, but the time I got, I heard plenty. Uh you know, I'm certainly well aware of and I'm sure he probably didn't let Larry forget that one for the rest.
No, 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 no.
No. Sam would hold on to things.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah. He was
um
amazing because I always sounded better in post game quips on games when I never talked to him. he always said, "Just remember, Mike, I like you." I said, "Okay," because you know we might be playing somewhere and I wouldn't get a chance to talk to him on the drive home or something. You know, we would. I didn't know how we would get him the scorebook. I think we faxed it back in those days when we got back to the gym. We didn't, you know, I couldn't email it to him. He didn't have email. So yeah, it was. I guess we would have. We probably were emailing it. I guess I would have been. Yeah, he always said, I always told him I sounded, Dave Bartlett the same way. Dave said, I only sound intelligent when I don't talk to you.
Well, see, um, I can say that I never fabricated quotes. I didn't know. I
They
just
weren't,
didn't know you guys well enough to even try and do that. Although there was a bit of a right when I finished up at the Daily News, there was a bit of a dust up because the one person that I probably could have fabricated quotes for, they didn't want me covering his games anymore because he was also my father-in-law.
oh, well,
And we were like, well, what do you want us to do? It's a two-man sports department. Like we can't exactly just divvy it up.
yeah, well,
So anyway, let's just hope that the snow doesn't completely screw
right.
things up this week. And
Right. Now let's go to important matters of Big Ten basketball.
I'm going to tell people though before we
Oh.
move on to that, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to talk about Indiana beating the shit out of Illinois, but I want to make sure people know, and they know. But 97.9 XFM all week. Listen to the games.
Hey, do we have press? Do we get press passes? Do we get to go over there and say we're press?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure probably nobody would push back too hard if we did, but they'll be live streaming it online too. So, like you can watch without actually being there if that's
Yeah, that's true. I can watch from my recliner.
Yeah, YouTube and it all looks a lot nicer than it used to. When they first started doing that, like it was kind of nice to be able to see it, but
it was fuzzy.
Yeah, now you can throw that up on your TV and it's not half bad. I've done it plenty of times.
I may have to Chromecast a little bit this week.
Yeah.
I'll listen. I like the NTC tournament.
They do it right.
It's had its high. I think I've seen some of its best years, and sometimes competitive games get confused with really good games. But I've seen, some years in there where it was a loaded. I mean, because I've seen St. Elmo go through there to a state tournament. I've seen Stu Straws at the time go through there to a state tournament. I've seen St. Anthony. I've seen Teutopolis. So some of those teams, Cody Rinker, made me look bad a couple nights in that tournament.
As a player, yeah.
He was a good player.
He was a good player. Yep.
And one of the Braden boys made me look not too good also.
Must have been Zach.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. That would have been
Zach. And he would tell me about it. That was the thing.
Well, that's a very Braden quality. That's not just Zach. I went to school with one of his older brothers. They'll all let you know when they get you. That's for certain. 87th National Trail Conference tournament, by the way. So been doing it a long time and been doing it
a lot of them.
Been doing it at Altamont for most of those years. So
I remember seeing Lyle Casper spread eagle like he was going to do a snow angel on the floor when they hit I think a 3 at the buzzer to beat St. Anthony in the championship game.
Was he coaching Altamont at that time?
Yep.
He coached in Neoga too, I think.
Yeah, I missed the famous Brian Schultz 4-point play to either send it in overtime against T-Town or to beat T-Town. Hit a half-court 3 and got fouled.
When Kurt came on last year to
talk about some of his highlights, yeah. And Kurt's traveling tonight, or we would have had him on.
So. Yep. So there you go. Make it a point to pay attention to that this weekend.
Yep, good tournament.
But on Friday night,
yeah, you want to have something in both ears because you get you and I together. There's no telling what'll happen.
And it should be a pretty good game too, by the way.
It should be.
Should be a good game between Effingham and T-Town.
Forward to it.
All right. Okay. You've been waiting patiently, and we got enough time left to do this. Indiana handled Illinois. Trace Jackson Davis scored 30-some points. I don't know.
Kind of looked like if we were having the White family versus the Wilson family and Mac was guarding me. That's kind of how I would equate that. Trace, I watched the game and was like, surely Indiana's not really strong perimeter shooting team. Surely they're going to start doubling down hard and make it shoot threes. No. surely since Hood Shafina got in foul trouble, they were going to press the crap out of Galloway because he's not a guard. And you got those the Illinois got back-to-back 10-second calls, which you probably never see in college basketball. And it happened on back-to-back possessions. And I was texting Charlie Shorn. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Because we can blow double-digit leads like nobody's business. And then they quit doing it. So I didn't understand not pressing the dog crap out of them the whole game. And then it was like, hey, we're going to let Trace Jackson Davis get his 20 and we're going to shut everybody else down. Well, he got 35 and it was good.
Did he break 30 against Michigan State today too?
I didn't see the individual point totals, but he got 2 lob dunks in the last 45 seconds of the game. But Whitey, that's Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan State, all 3 double-digit losses in a row.
Yeah. I guess you can't, I think last time we talked, you're down in the dumps.
Happy.
And
I was not looking forward to Tuesday night because I was afraid my phone would blow up with all the people sending nasty text messages to me, which would be undeserved.
Yeah.
And I didn't text a single person saying anything. Now, I may or may not have sent the Christmas holiday tournament committee group text a picture of the IU logo. I may have done that.
I got a couple texts from you. I mean, they were pretty tame.
Well, because I didn't expect it. I thought it'd be a good game. And I didn't, when the lead got up to 21-22, I was very happy.
Well, here's the thing. I don't get a chance to just sit down and watch a lot of Illini games just because I'm generally out doing something, broadcasting or watching a team. It seems like every time I sit down and watch a game, make a point to watch it, it's just awful. When Illinois struggles, they struggle hard. That's the thing. Like they can play so well and beat a good team, but they can also just
so and so was sick. Well, then why was he playing? Oh, he was sick. Well, then don't have him on the floor. You got a lot of athletes out there. So
yeah, they had been playing well up to that point.
Oh, I agree. That's why I was not looking forward to that game at all because both teams were their arrows were pointed in opposite directions.
So the big debate is Zach Edey or Trace Jackson Davis the best player in the conference?
You still almost got to give the nod to Zach Edey now, but Purdue hasn't ran a real gauntlet yet, have they? Of bang, bang, bang games?
No.
I mean, they haven't had, two really. I mean, every game in the Big Ten's tough, but, they've had Nebraska sprinkled in and some other teams. I can't say Northwestern because they beat both Indiana.
Well, Northwestern, I think, is actually decent, as it turns out.
Yeah, I think they are. But, you've had some games where they're coming up, and I don't know when Indiana plays Purdue. I should have looked and seen. That's coming up. And I think Illinois comes to Indiana last game of the year, maybe. So I may try to get over and watch that. I don't know yet.
Purdue, Indiana is on Saturday, February 4th. So
okay, so that's coming up.
Indiana's got to play, but they got to play Minnesota, then Ohio State, and
where's the Minnesota game at?
It's at Minnesota.
Yeah, that's who knows. We'll go to Minnesota, and that'll be their Super Bowl night.
No, they can't lose.
Ohio State's not very good either.
But Maryland is.
Maryland's, I think, a higher seed in bracketology than both Illinois and Indiana right
now. Yep. But Minnesota stinks. I mean, I am very confident in saying that. It doesn't matter if it's at their place or not.
Oh, Whitey? The Niners just went up 19-12.
Yeah, I can't say I have not watched a ton of football this weekend. So
I did. I watched the Bengals and Bills game. That was a good game. In our family pool that I was 6-0 last week and co-leader, because we do 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You sign points on
Mhm.
games. So now this week, I'm now 3-0. And my other team, my 1-point game, I currently have a 7-point lead with 3 minutes to go. I could go 10-0, which I would be at worst in a 3-way tie for first.
Sounds good. Better
You know,
than I'd pick them, I'm sure.
and this is the least I've ever watched NFL football, probably since I was old enough to watch NFL football.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just couldn't make very many educated guesses about it this year. The Bears just, the Bears basically told you before the season even started they weren't going to be worth watching, so I took them up on it for the most part.
Well, that's one thing they got right.
Yeah.
The Colts have interviewed like 20-some people for their head coaching job. And supposedly Jeff Saturday is the front runner.
Well, good luck with
He
that.
looked like he was in the deep end of the pool without floaties there the time I saw him.
Good luck. I hope they do that because it's not my team, so I just want to watch
Good
that
call.
one. Watch
Good
that one
call.
from afar and enjoy the show.
All
All
right,
right.
we got anything else going? We got guest Tuesday, Mr. Britton.
Yep. Make
That's
sure
11:30.
Okay. So we'll get that. That would be online. We talked to him 11:30. It'll be a short episode. We'll talk to him and that'll be it. And so by mid-afternoon, we can have that one up online.
Okay, good.
We'll do that. So make sure you look out for that. The rare 2-episode week.
Do we get paid double?
Yes, we're going to get double what we usually get paid. So
awesome.
So yeah, be watching your bank account for that.
That'll help with my Ameren bill.
Good Lord, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Between that and buying an 18-pack of eggs on the Walmart order this week, we're gonna have
something. Was it 8 something for 18-pack?
I think it was more than that. I can't.
Oh, because last time I saw 18 packs were 8 something.
Maybe it was. I don't know. I just was
I've just quit baking. I quit baking every day now since there's no eggs are too expensive.
That's right. So yeah. Well, what a sacrifice you've made too.
I'm gonna give up baking over Lent this year.
All right. Well, I think we've probably wandered into territory where we might as well knock it off for the week.
Sounds good.
You. All right. Well, Tuesday, look out for it. Aaron Britton, Nesto Hoops. If you love the site, or if you use the site, that'll be a good conversation.
If you like high school basketball, you will enjoy listening to this man.
And again, we'll talk about that NTC tournament. Hopefully they get it all played this week. They'll get it played.
They'll get it played.
Yeah. But we'll see how it goes. We'll have a discussion about that next weekend. Sound good?
All right. That's good.
All right. Talk to you later.
See ya.